Benjamin Butterworth, journalist at the Guy paper, is still with us. Benjamin, wondering what you make of the news yesterday that the Russians say they have developed a vaccine. Vladimir Putin claims his own daughter has already taken the vaccine. It's perfectly fine. There were, of course, stories about them possibly stealing some information from Oxford University and others there in terms to attempt to develop a vaccine. Would you be willing to take a vaccine for COVID-19 that had been developed by the Russians?
Not this one. It seems very unlikely, given that, all the greatest scientists in so many countries are working on a vaccine, many of them working together. I would be very suspicious that Russia has managed to do this in 2 months. I certainly wouldn't take it. I'd happily wait until our Oxford University one throws up a fair and safe version.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm with you on that front. Well, let's put this question to Tobias Ellwood, who's chair of the Defence Select Committee and a Conservative MP. Good morning to you, Tobias.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. What are your thoughts on you and the family taking a vaccine handed out by the Russians?
Still well clear of it. Firstly, let's understand this is a game changer. If you find the answer to this, the huge economic advantage you get by providing that vaccine, liberating your economy, there's huge political power as well. You can share that vaccine with your friends, with your allies, prevent your adversaries getting it. No wonder Putin wants to be there first. But I think this is all about a distraction. He sees what's going on next door in Belarus, another rigged election. And Putin likes to be in the limelight. He's a very, very proud man. He's just managed to secure the job, the presidency for life. I think this is all about him consolidating control and a clear strategy to really not only just, he's now prevented regime change. This is all about unsettling the West. It's about us worried that we haven't got there first. But the fact that he's named it Sputnik itself shows that this is a complete joke.
Yeah.
What are we going to name ours? Spitfire or Bulldog? I mean, where do we go with this? This isn't serious. And the World Health Organization has dismissed Russia's attempts to claim that they've got a vaccine. Putin has tested this on his children. But actually, when you do phase 3 tests, you're talking about thousands and thousands of people that have gone through the mill. I understand only a few dozen have. So he's jumping the gun. He's trying to cut corners. He's trying to make a mark.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just propaganda, really. This is the thing. Let's also talk, if we can, about what is going on in the Channel, obviously, because we talk about this as a sort of home affairs issue with Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, trying to deal with the number of migrants. We know at least 4,000 have crossed the Channel this year, 600 in the last few days. Again, I don't know where people get these figures from, because these are the only ones we know about. Chris Philp, the immigration minister, was in Paris yesterday. A lot of tough talk. A lot of people, frankly, and I'm among them, really not entirely sure that the tough talk's going to be followed up by tough action. Ben & Jerry's has got in on the act, though. They make ice cream. They're not in charge of any sort of migration policy. They make ice cream, but for some reason are experts on this issue. And they've tweeted the Home Secretary saying they think the real crisis isn't the migrants crossing the Channel, but our lack of humanity for people fleeing war, climate change and torture. And they ended in a very long thread pointing out that people cannot be illegal. What do you make of an ice cream manufacturer getting in on our border policy?
I think we need to be careful to make sure that we keep the level of this debate elevated to the status that it requires. This is a very serious issue. People fleeing desperate situations, failed states, paying money to illegal gangs to make their way across Europe. And then France itself doing a relatively good job, but not good enough to prevent these dinghies from crossing.
Well, 1 in 5, apparently, they managed to stop. 1 in 5.
Well, on a normal day, it would be about 50%. It would be about half. But because of the spike in activity that we're seeing, then it's 1 in 5. They can't do it alone. We can't patrol the seas alone. Together, we can. And that's what Chris Philp was trying to accomplish, of recognizing that if we can have a more collaborated plan, then we can actually ensure that we return those dinghies back to France, where they rightfully can claim asylum according to the Dublin regulations that France have signed up to.
Well, the thing is, the French
don't. Can I stress this point, if I may, that it doesn't stop there, because those dinghies will still attempt to come across because of the criminal gangs. More effort must be made to break those gangs, and I have to say, far more effort needs to be placed into supporting the very countries that these desperate people are fleeing from. Let's look at those. Yeah. Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq. These are countries that the West was involved with. And let's be fair, we've turned our backs on. And until we sort the problem out at source, there will always be tens of thousands of people wishing to abandon where they live in Africa, North Africa, and the Middle East and come to Europe. And that, I'm afraid, the West, collectively, we have a responsibility.
Well, but you say that there are plenty of countries which we didn't have involvement in, like Syria, which we argue that was the big mistake. Eritrea
No, we
and
backed
others.
away. I'm sorry, but we backed away. We gave up. We stepped back, and guess what? When you step back from a situation such as that, non-state and state actors fill the vacuum.
This is my point, that the West and Britain, we get blamed whether we get involved, whether we don't get involved. The reality is those push factors for people to leave their countries, whether they're war-torn or whether they're repressive regimes or whether they're just economic basket cases, and the pull factors of the UK, our language, our culture, and our benefit system, and our human rights failure to deport people, means that it doesn't really matter how many people France does or does not try to stop. Those factors are always going to overwhelm that.
I don't agree with that. I think what I would agree is that you need a wider, coherent strategy, and that involves a better operations in the channel itself, which is why I've recommended that the armed forces get in place. There's no stigma attached to any government department saying, I can't cope with the situation, whether it be flooding, whether it be a terrorist attack, or whether it be the Olympic Games, or indeed COVID-19. It's okay to ask the armed forces to step in, and their Home Office, given their due, have done exactly that because of this unprecedented calm weather that we've had. But as I think we're both agreeing, that won't solve the problem. It's these criminal gangs that are not just moving people that want to come this way. They're also trafficking, human trafficking as well, putting people into the sex trade, and then also drugs smuggling as well. But ultimately, I make the case. You step back from Syria, as we did in 2013. I remember that vote. And what happened? Russia then moved in and filled that vacuum as well. You know, Assad could have been removed by now, and we could have been moving that forward and redeveloping that country. But the fact that it is such a basket case, as you describe it, does mean people want to flee, and that's understandable. Okay. But let's also not take away, and I say this to Ben and Jerry, of the huge sums that DFID have invested in supporting refugees in the neighboring countries of Turkey, in Jordan, and indeed in Lebanon as well. Over £2 billion has been spent there to support refugees near to where they want to return home to. So it is a complex argument with no easy solutions.
Okay, thank you very much, as always, for joining us. Tobias Ellwood, Chair of the Defence Select Committee.